It's good that you have friends who you can speak to about Dhamma. It's not so. It's not easy for me to find many people to have useful conversations about Dhamma.
I think it's the same for everyone.
It's good that you have friends who you can speak to about Dhamma. It's not so. It's not easy for me to find many people to have useful conversations about Dhamma.
I think it's the same for everyone.
It's good that you have friends who you can speak to about Dhamma.
Oh, we just speak. It doesn't matter. I had family members and they hadn't heard Dhamma. I thought if I don't say anything now, no more opportunity for them. So I start speaking. Maybe they have no opportunity, at all. So if we keep our mouth shut, it doesn't help very much. So we can just start and say something. It's not bad to do that.
It's
very
hard to
rare
find.
Usually I was a bit shy, especially for family members, but not now. Because I just say they are worried that I don't have enough visitors, that I'm lonely. So I explain my Saturday mornings are very good and so helpful. And why are they so helpful? So I start just talking.
And I think, Mark, it's true, it's very rare to find anyone who has real interest in really understanding about Dhammas.
But it can begin, it can begin.
Especially understanding Dhammas as anatta. It's very rare, yes.
It's rare, but it doesn't matter. We don't mind. We can
just plant
begin.
little seeds and see if there's any interest, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's hard to, for me, it's hard to find words which can be understood. If I just start speaking about anatta,
oh no, but it doesn't matter. We can speak about the problems in life that everyone has. So all the families also have their own problems. So it's a good starting point anyway. And we can take a little about what Ajahn said, about the difficulties and the clinging to self, and what is clinging to self. It's hard to explain, but we can begin. We shouldn't get discouraged.
If one uses Pali terms, that is bound to
prove
an obstacle to any further conversation.
Yeah.
So,
but we don't need to.
Rather than say it's anatta, one can talk about how things are not actually under one's control. Things happen more by conditions, and there's no way of knowing what's going to happen next, that sort of thing. So it takes a while to find a way to introduce that kind of thing into a conventional conversation. And for myself, I can't say I do it very often, but fortunately we have the outlet of meetings like this in order to exchange things in Dhamma terms.
Yes.
But outside of this, it doesn't happen very often. Although, of course, Sarah and I are very privileged. We have each other as partners. So there's always someone else to talk to about the Dhamma.
Yes, that's nice. That's fortunate.
Carmen, are you there, Carmen? Yes, at the beginning last time you were asking about gross and subtle rupas and nibbana, concrete, and anibbana, rupas.
I think it was Chanti.
Oh, was it Chanti? It wasn't
Yeah.
you. Sorry. Yes, she's not here. So, okay.
Yeah, she's here. She's here.
Oh, she is here, Chanti.
Yes.
Okay.
Hmm.
I was just going to add a little more because we lost the thread. So there are, as we know, there are gross rupas and subtle rupas. So the 12 rupas that are gross are the 7 objects experienced through the sense doors, and the 5 sense spaces. These are gross rupas that are more readily apparent, and all the other rupas are subtle rupas. And we discussed those, and I was going to add further, but the discussion changed. So when we're talking about the Nibbana, which is sometimes translated as concrete rupas, and Anibbana, the non-concrete rupas, but the concrete is a bit of a strange translation. But this refers to the first ones, the Nibbana rupas, refer to the 18 rupas that have a characteristic that can be directly understood. They're the rupas which are sabhava, that have a characteristic. So these also include subtle rupas that have a characteristic, not just the 12 gross rupas, but also rupas like masculinity, femininity, heart base, jivitindriya rupa, ahara rupa, and the ones that are anibbana or asabhava are ones that depend on other rupas to be known, like the akasa space element, or the bodily and vocal intimation that don't have a characteristic that can be known. So it's a different set of explanation about different kinds of rupa. Was there anything else on that topic of rupas that you wish to discuss, Chanti, or ask about?
Yes, good morning, everyone. Dukkha is a reality, but pain is a concept, am I right? And then there's bodily pain, which maybe is just the hardness and the temperature and the movement if looking directly. And is it just the mental, the nama, which makes it dukkha? The Vedana, the reaction?
Okay, so we have to go back and consider, first of all, what is dukkha? Because when you say dukkha is a reality, what do you mean by dukkha?
Oh, that's very fast, because that means it's not controllable. It has also to do with the 3 characteristics. Everything is ending. Also the arising is dukkha. Even breathing is maybe dukkha, because it comes back all the time. You can't do with the in-breath nor with the out-breath. And the anatta, the atta is dukkha, so that's more fast. But if I'm going to rupa, the aspect of dukkha in terms of rupa doesn't exist, does it? I can't hear you, sorry.
What about the visible object that's seen now? It's a rupa. Is it dukkha?
No.
Because that which is dukkha is whatever is conditioned to arise and fall away is dukkha. So seeing arises and falls away. It's unsatisfactory because it doesn't last. It cannot be made to last. That which is seen, the visible object, is dukkha because it arises and falls away. So dukkha, like impermanence, is a characteristic of any conditioned reality, because any conditioned reality arises and falls away, and therefore it's dukkha. So we don't say that dukkha is a reality, it's a characteristic of all conditioned realities.
Okay, so there's a difference.
All conditioned realities arise and fall away. So each one is dukkha. This is when we're talking about the first noble truth. So whatever arises and falls away.
Sorry. It's a difference when you ask me, seeing in this moment, for me is not painful, then I'm answering painful, but it's not the same.
Okay.
Very small aspect.
So the three kinds of dukkha. So you're referring to the first kind of dukkha, dukkha, which refers to the kind of the dukkha that everyone is familiar with. Any painful feeling, any aversion is dukkha because it's unpleasant. So this is one kind of dukkha which you're referring to.
Which is the reality.
So any unpleasantness, any unpainful feeling is dukkha, the first kind of dukkha. And the second kind of dukkha, viparinama dukkha, refers to the arising and falling away of the pleasant feeling, that which is enjoyed and it doesn't last. So that which is pleasant and enjoyed is also dukkha because it falls away. This is the viparinama dukkha. And the third kind of dukkha is taught by the Buddha when he taught about the Four Noble Truths. The deepest meaning of dukkha refers to the arising and falling away of any conditioned reality. So whatever arises and falls away is dukkha, sankhara dukkha, the unsatisfactoriness of whatever is conditioned. So three different kinds of dukkha. When you refer to the painful bodily feeling and painful mental feeling, so the painful bodily feeling is the unpleasant bodily feeling that arises with body consciousness. It's a reality, it's not a concept. When there's painful feeling, it's not imagined. There is the painful bodily feeling, but it falls away instantly and usually is followed by a lot of thinking with unpleasant mental feeling. So the unpleasant mental feeling is also real, the domanassa that arises with dosa when there's aversion to what is experienced. So these are realities.
Could you break it down? Like we're breaking down very often seeing in the sense door and then mind door following. Could you do this for bodily pain, like dukkha? Again, I can't hear you.
When seeing arises, it experiences the visible object with neutral feeling. When bodily consciousness experiences a tangible object, hardness, heat, motion, it's either accompanied by pleasant feeling or unpleasant feeling. And that pleasant feeling, we call it pleasant bodily feeling, can be very slight or very strong. The painful feeling, the unpleasant feeling can be very slight or very strong, but it's just for a moment in the body door series of citas, just one moment of experiencing the tangible object with painful bodily feeling. And then the other citas in that process are not experiencing the object with painful bodily feeling. And afterwards, the mind door processes that follow, there's no more painful bodily feeling. So the unpleasantness is with dosa, not liking the object, thinking about it again and again with unpleasant feeling. So the actual painful bodily feeling is just for a very brief moment in the body door process of citas.
Yes, and if you break that moment down, what would you then in Pali terms call is perceived in that one moment of pain? The Vedana?
What the Vedana is the Chaitasika that arises with the body consciousness. 7 Chaitasikas arise with the Chitta. One of them is the Vedana, the unpleasant feeling, which experiences exactly the same tangible object as the body consciousness, the same object as the Passa, as the Ekagata, as all the different Chaitasikas. So the object is the tangible object. It has to be either the hardness, softness, the temperature. For example, if you touch something that's too hot or too cold, unpleasant bodily feeling with painful, unpleasant bodily experience with painful feeling or motion at that moment. And the object is experienced by all the other chittas in that process of chittas. But the painful feeling, just the painful bodily feeling just arises with that one moment of body consciousness, not with the chittas that follow it. For example, there are 2 more Vipaka chittas, 1 Kiriya chitta, and then 7 kusala or akusala chittas that follow in that experience that same object, but no painful bodily feeling, but there can be the experience of that object with lobha or dosa, with pleasant feeling or unpleasant feeling. But the painful feeling is just with that one moment of body consciousness. And after those chittas have all fallen away, bhavanka chittas, and then mind or process chittas, which can be with lobha or dosa. If there's thinking about that object with dosa, unpleasant mental feeling, domanassa, but no more painful bodily feeling at those moments. So it shows we think we're experiencing pain for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, half an hour, but it's just a moment. And then so many mind or processes, and then maybe that painful bodily feeling again and again, but it's the nimitta of the painful bodily feeling that is experienced. We live in the world of nimitta, as we've discussed. It seems that the painful bodily feeling lasts, but it doesn't last. Just like it seems that the pleasant feeling when we're eating something delicious lasts, but it doesn't last. Nothing lasts at all.
Yes, and I'm trying to get away from the nimitta of pain. And I thought I understood when you say it's just one moment, I understand, and that there must be a tangible object.
Right.
And yet I do not understand the reality yet, the difference between Vedana, which at one moment, I'm just trying to come back to this one tangible object moment, is then unpleasant.
So Vedana arises with every chitta, as you know, and experiences exactly the same object as the chitta. So the first chitta in that process of chittas, the adverting to that tangible object, at that moment of adverting to that object, there's no painful bodily feeling.
Yes.
And then there is the bodily experience accompanied in this case by unpleasant feeling or painful feeling for a moment, experiencing that tangible object. It falls away, and there are 2 more Vipaka chittas, the Sampaticca and Santirana chittas, no painful bodily feeling with them. And then after they have fallen away, 1 more Kiriya chitta, the Bhottapana chitta, no painful bodily feeling at that moment. And then 7 kusala or akusala chittas, usually akusala chittas. So the akusala chittas, maybe with lobha, maybe with dosa, so quick, so sudden, but no painful bodily feeling at that moment. And then after all the citas in the process have fallen away, bhavanga citas, no painful bodily feeling, and then mind-or citas, maybe with aversion and domanassa, no painful bodily feeling. So again, there can be many, countless body door processes of citas, but we can see how brief the painful bodily feeling is, and how, like the Buddha said, the problem is really not the first arrow, the painful bodily feeling, which is a moment of vipaka, but all the dosa and domanassa, the aversion towards it in subsequent mind or processes. This is the second arrow. So the arahats still have painful bodily feeling, but no more dosa, no more domanassa towards what is unpleasant.
It's very nice how you break it down, and every time specify no pain, no pain, no pain. It's amazing. Yes.
Just thinking about the story of the pain and dwelling on it, which makes it magnified and seems to last. But actually, it's just a moment. I'd like to just greet Ajahn. Sawadika, Ajahn.
Sawadika, Ajahn.
Sawadika. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, Ajahn.
Sawadika, Ajahn. Yes, we can hear you.
Would you like to add more to? And Merry Christmas to everyone else.
What about this moment? Can it be known or realize the truth of it? We just talk about many other moments, not now, but shall we start or begin to understand what is there? It's so true, it appears, but what is it? This is the beginning of understanding the truth of Dhamma. Whatever is real is now. So what is the absolute truth of what is there appearing now? Is there anything or something there or nothing? This can be known by oneself to understand what Buddha taught about the truth, the absolute truth of whatever is there in one's life from life to life. Even they are there, they are not known as they are at all. That's why it's time to consider what is the right understanding. Is understanding what is there as it is. Because each moment, whatever appears is life in a moment, from moment to moment. Understanding life is understanding what is there as it is. Otherwise, there's no understanding of what we take for life at all. So what is there now? This very moment. Otherwise, it wouldn't be known from time to time, no understanding of what is there. Just heard about it. But what is there appearing? Nothing?
Touching.
Or something? Or what?
Touching.
Touching?
Touching.
Yes. Did you say touching?
Yes.
Okay. What is touching? What? That is touching for sure. But what is it? Which touch?
Hardness.
Hardness is the object which is touched.
Yeah.
But what touch it? Is there anything?
Hardness from this chair.
Yes, but hardness is experienced. Otherwise, it does not show up as it's hard at all. But any moment when hardness appears, it means that there must be a reality which experiences its hardness.
Yeah,
so that is the idea of that is hardness. But what experiences it?
consciousness.
Yes, we call it consciousness, but usually we think of I all the time, taking that which experiences as I. Because if there's nothing arising and appearing at all. There wouldn't be anything at all. But now it's not just like that. Something all the time, from moment to moment, because there is a reality which arises and experiences what is seen, what is heard, what is thought about, and so on. Because that which arises and cannot experience anything, cannot know anything at all. Because its nature is just to arise, to be hardness, cannot experience anything. But it's there experienced by a reality which is not I, but they are conditioned for that moment to arise, to hear, and it is a reality which can experience an object. That's why it's there all the time in one's life, no matter when and where, but no interest to understand it as it is arising and falling away, conditioned to hear or to see or to think, different moments, different ones. That's why actually there's no permanent thing, no being as I or dog or cat or anything. Each moment there must be the reality which arises to experience. So the world appear and there are many objects seen or heard and touched. That's all. Is that not true? This is the beginning of having confidence of actually what one takes it for I of things for years and for eons ago. Actually, it's not there anymore, even just a moment ago. Never be the same. That's why having confidence of the truth of realities are realities and they are different by the natures. One can experience an object and the other cannot experience anything at all.
Yeah.
It's hard, it's smell, and so on. So now, if there is no understanding of this moment as it is, no one, how can there be the moment of experiencing the truth, the absolute truth of what is there in anywhere, anytime, even right now? That's why there is understanding and ignorance, attachment and detachment, not by anyone at all, but by understanding the truth. And understanding is a reality. When there's no understanding, what is there? Ignorance, the reality which is now experiencing the object without any understanding. And that is real, it's a nature, it's an absolute reality, which is avijja, is no, and vijja is understanding. No understanding at all of what is there as it is, because it's there arising and falling away in split seconds. But the truth can be discerned, it can be realized, it can be directly experienced, because it's there now. What is there can be directly experienced of its truth. But we have to understand it from the very beginning. Ignorance cannot understand that. Whatever is there, when it experiencing an object, no one there. So the seeing or the hearing which experiences an object is I, because there's no one else there. That's why there is the idea of I, so very strongly accumulated, eons and eons ago. That's why when we hear the truth about whatever is there, there should be a moment of considering the truth of it. When it's true, it has to be true. No one can change it.
So it's always Nama and Rupa, the beginning.
That's it.
Yeah.
But it's easy to say that it's Nama because it experiences an object, but the reality, which has no form, no shape, no smell, no color, just arise and experiencing only one object and then fall away instantly. It's not very easy to penetrate its truth as no one and no thing, because it's completely gone, never to arise again in samsara, only once and then gone, never to return. That's the meaning of anatta, no self and no thing, only a reality conditioned to arise to be different moments and then gone, permanent, and never to return at all. Is that not true? When it's true, it can be discerned little by little. It can be understood, and it is so firm that this very moment, it's the reality which experiences an object any moment unexpectedly, because who can know the future that hasn't come yet? What would be conditioned to be object of experiencing by so many conditions, not at anyone's will or expectation at all. It can be proven right now. Who knows the next moment? And when it's so firm, it can condition the direct understanding of what is now appearing. By conditions, by then there's no doubt about different degrees of understanding. They're very weak, and then the strong one, because the object can appear clear to that moment, to the understanding, which understand it clearly. As it is, experiencing arises and experience, no shape, no form at all. And what is experienced can be anything appearing, because of the experiencing has experienced it. That's all. This is life from birth to death and on again, as long as there are conditions for anything to arise, it has to arise. But when there's no conditions for that reality to arise, they cannot arise at all. Impossible to make anything arise, because what is there has arisen by conditions. So no need to think about the future or try to know the other thing, not now. But this very moment can be object of understanding as anatta. Seeing right now, while we're talking, who condition is arising? No one, but their conditions. The rapidity of a moment of experiencing, so very, very rapidly, that there's no understanding of the arising and falling away of anyone. That's why it has to begin from understanding what is there, one by one. As this one is not that one, different ones by different conditions. And whatever arises, gone instantly. That's all. To understand reality, to understand Dhamma, study Dhamma, is understand what is now appearing, which we are talking about. So there can be the understanding of the truth little by little. For example, the arising and falling away of realities are so very, very rapidly. That's why only one can it be known. Can it be directly known? Just only one. When you talk about this moment, how many moments in split second of one moment? That's why we understand what's meant by the enlightenment, to realize the truth as is now, as it is. But attachment and ignorance covers up the truth. No thought, no idea, no thinking about the truth of it at all. Just like that, being attached to that which appears, because not understanding that it's gone completely, absolutely, never to arise again. So it's only ignorance and clinging because of ignorance, not understanding that what is the object of attachment is not there in samsara. Is that not true? It's true or not true?
Is dit what is called dukkha by the Buddha, that we cannot see?
We have to understand the word we use. There are many aspects. For example, even we talk about the arising and falling away of a reality. What about the moment understanding this? As usual, see, because the understanding is not keen, not clear, not strong enough to directly experience, that which arises and falls away by way of nimitta. Because now, even right now, there are many moments of the reality which can experience object, but what appears is only seeing and thinking. Is that right?
Yeah.
But there are many moments before seeing, many moments after seeing. But what appears is only that which experiences the visible object. What about the other moment, which is not seeing, but it share or experience the same object? So it seems like there is no understanding of the arising and falling away of what appears, because the succession of the arising and falling away form up the idea of thing, very permanent. It does not arise and fall away at all. It's there all the time. But in truth, what is there? So, right understanding which can directly experience the truth. So it let go, little by little, the idea of things, permanent one, I, of people, and who, because it's known as an impermanent reality. But since it's not appear yet, it does not disturb any feeling or any liking or any ignorance, because it appears as something. As long as it appears as something, there must be like or attachment with ignorance to that very object, even right now. That's why learning to understand the absolute truth and be truthful to the truth as part of me. Otherwise, no interest to understand the truth of what is there now, which is life from moment to moment. Just live with ignorance. But there can be the understanding of the truth from the words of the enlightenment to be heard and considered, and to understand the truth firmer and firmer, more confidence. So right understanding is strong enough to understand each different one. And when it is the direct understanding of the truth, it can develop. So it let go the other rupa or the nama which is there. Just be aware of one object, so the object can appear a little clearer until it's time to realize the truth. And that is called vipassana. Understanding clearly, no I at all, at that moment of clear comprehension of the object there, one by one. When we don't think of our arms or legs or clothes or what is that? It's just that. At moment of seeing, what is seen can only appear. What about my arms and my legs? They do not appear at all. What appears is just that which is seen. And that which is seen in a split-second moment can never be something or anything at all, because it's only a reality which can impinge on the eye base, and then it conditions the moment of seeing. But the moment of seeing is conditioned by many other conditions too. That's why Buddha taught in details for 45 years to understand what are there in a moment. Not just seeing itself, but there are other reality arising together. But since it does not appear, it cannot be known. That's why we live in the world of nimitta, shape and form and idea and concept, make it known as something all the time. And this is the only way to understand the truth of this very moment.
But Ajahn, when you say we see something, we see it as something, what is that something?
What is seen now?
What I see now?
What is seen? What did you see? What do you see? What appears?
Color?
You see? Really?
Some light?
No shape, no form?
No, not really. Yeah,
Really? As
It's-
soon as one opens one's eyes, what is there? Something or many things at once.
Yes. Yeah.
But the truth is that it cannot appear at once as many things around. Only just that which can impinge on the eye base. So it's there. When we break up a petal or flower, see, we can chop it up, anything, to be very, very fine. What is there? No shape, no form to be taken for anything at all. What is seen is seen. When it's touched, it's hard. So hardness is not the reality which is there, which can impinge on the eye base to be seen. In order to understand the truth of actually, there is no one at all. It has to be understanding the truth from hearing and considering. Can that which seems to be a rose or a pencil or a chair, can it be broken up into very, very tiny particle? Can it still be chair or flower or what? When it's seen, it's just that which can impinge on the eye base. No matter what color, the reality which can see it clearly as it is.
Okay.
It cannot be changed as it appears, but now it appears as something like the leaf of the flower or the pencil or the chair and the shoes. In truth, what is seen is only that, very, very rapidly arising and falling away. And the rapidity condition the shape and form to be known, concept as something.
Yeah, that's
But in
correct.
truth, there must be the absolute reality, each
So-
different ones.
So if you say something, then it is meant a concept. We
Because
see.
it's known as something.
Yeah. Then if you say we see it as something, then we see it as a concept. That is a concept what we see.
Because only one moment of the arising of our reality cannot be experienced so very rapidly. That's why now it seems like they're seeing, and we know that it's always seeing as long as one doesn't close one's eyes. It's there, but it doesn't appear as it is. It appears as form and shape and idea and things. But in truth, without the very tiny particle coming together, arising together, condition that as shape and form, and the concept is there, make it known as this or that. But without the absolute reality, can there be that? Shoes,
No.
pencils?
No.
Impossible.
Yeah.
And this is the truth of life. No one and nothing, only the absolute realities.
So, but is it possible to see the absolute reality?
Is it true?
Is that true? Is that possible?
So there must be the way. And the way is the understanding of the truth of actually what is seen is not as we take it for something. Until then, see, the understanding of the truth, let go, the clinging to the other moment, which makes what other reality appearing. Letting go the idea of something, because it's just that which is seen. This is the beginning to develop the understanding to be firm, confidence of what is seen is not as it is. So many moments of the reality, which we use the word citta, the experiencing, the chief of experiences, the characteristic of the object that no other reality can experience, just like citta. It just arises to perform the function of directly experience the object which is there. Only that. That's why in life, no thought about it. Just think about what is there as things. But what is that which experience must be there, unknown. Otherwise, nothing can appear at all. That's why we learn to understand that in life, there are so many, many different realities unknown until Buddha taught about it, about the truth of it right now. Without the reality which can experience an object, can there be anything appear at all?
No.
Impossible. So what is life? That which just arises and cannot experience the object, like the sand, the water, and on, cannot be moment of knowing what is there at all, because it cannot experience anything. But there must be another reality which arises to experience only. Just think, just consider few words about it. The reality which just arises to experience, only that, not like or dislike at all, just experience that object. A moment of citta can experience only one object at a time by conditions. The Cetasikas, mental factor which arises with it, the ekakata, one-pointedness, just on one object. That's why citta cannot experience two objects at a time, only one. But not like panya. It just experience, no understanding of the truth, what is there at all. That's why there are many mental factors, many reality which can experience the object, but they are different because citta is the chief of experiencing the characteristic of a reality right now. It's citta which experiences, but there are other mental factors arising with the citta as conditions by way of different conditions too. So life is just that which is conditioned by conditions to be just that, arising and falling away in split second, never to return at all. And this is the meaning of sunyata and anatta. When it's true, it can be developed, it can be firmly confidence of the truth that what is life is only that, the arising at birth of that which can experience and that which cannot experience, conditioned by a Dhamma. We have to talk about absolute reality in the past and now, present, and future too. Because how come future without this moment? Just learn to understand the truth. There is no one to be able to do anything at all, but the understanding can develop little by little to understand the truth, which is this very moment. It can be started because it's now appearing, to consider whether it's true, as Buddha had enlightened and taught about it 45 years. Because it's so subtle, because it has been accumulated for quite so very, very long time to be so strong that nothing can let it go away instantly. But there can be the development of understanding. Not me, so just live as usual, as natural, by conditions. And right understanding develops little by little, so firm, not change. Satya parami, to be truthful to the truth. And even akusala must be a reality. different kinds, no one there. Is it not good to understand the truth?
It's very good.
Just understanding, it doesn't hurt at all. Life goes on. There can be moment of joyful moment, feeling, and so on, happy feeling. What comes by conditions to be understood, to be firmly confident of the truth that it's not me. It just gone away instantly, unknown, until it's known. The confidence of the truth develop enough to let go. The clinging to that as something. Even right now, what are there cannot be controlled, cannot be conditioned to arise or fall away. It's nature. No one, we don't have to do anything. No one can do anything. Just learn to understand the truth. We learn a lot about this and that. But what about learning to understand the truth, the absolute truth of each moment, each life?
But even that is not I who is understanding. It's not
Yes.
I. It is just wisdom or whatever is understanding.
That's why we understand the truth very, very confident of the truth that even right understanding is no one. It does not belong to anyone. It's conditioned without hearing and considering and memory of the truth. How can there be more understanding? And understanding arises and falls away. It does not belong to anyone at all. So it has to be very firm confidence of realities are realities. Because nobody can change its nature at all. The nature of ignorance, the nature of understanding, the nature of life, of this life, and other realities in a day can be known. Even there's no word, call it anything, but it's there as it is. For example, we don't have to say it hears or it's hearing, but it hears at moment when sound appears. But sound cannot experience, only a reality, which is conditioned to arise to hear by conditions, not to think. And when it's thinking, it's by condition, not to see.
But who is speaking then?
So the truth is the truth. Just learn to understand the truth, that's all. And even at moment of understanding, it's not me, but it's a reality which hasn't arisen before.
Yeah.
That's why we can understand each word of the Buddha clearer and clearer. Even just the word Tathagata. See, the one who has come to realize the truth, and the truth is this very moment. Otherwise, how can anyone think about it? As what is seen must be a reality which experience or see it. What is heard, sound appears, there must be a reality which hears or which knows or which experiences just that very sound only and gone. Nothing can be permanent at all. See, life just go on, conditions go on and on, condition many different realities, and then gone, never to arise again. From morning up to now, until tomorrow, and on, non-stop, endlessly. When there's still conditions for whatever arises, it has to arise.
So back to your question earlier,
Thank you so
Jyotika.
much.
So what is seen now is just that which is visible, but it seems that it's something or someone. It seems that books are seen or a person is seen or different colors, different shapes, different words are seen, but in truth, it's just the visible object that's seen. So when Ajahn asked you what is seen now, well, in truth, we know it's just visible object, but it seems to be something or someone all the time, because
So it's not real.
because it's not because it's just an idea of what is seen. But in truth, what is seen, the visible object, it's not known. It's covered up by ignorance, and there's thinking all the time, instantly, of the shape, the form, the color, the impression. So it seems that something and someone is seen, and what is the visible object seen by? No one to see it. So it's just by the seeing consciousness, just by seeing itself, which sees it. No one there to see anything, no one there to experience anything. So the realities that are experienced have to be known as they are, as what is real. And the realities which experience, the seeing, the hearing, have to be known as realities, not someone that experiences. And the point in the earlier conversation with Chanti is that we were talking about painful bodily feeling. We can talk about painful bodily feeling, or we can talk about dosa, or we can talk about tasting. But if there's no painful feeling now, or no tasting now, it can't be known. So only that which appears now can be known. So seeing now can be the object of understanding when it appears. The visible object can be understood when it appears, but the painful feeling can only be understood when there is painful feeling. Otherwise, we're just thinking about the stories of different realities all the time. So that's why it always comes back to what is there now, what is true right at this moment, in order to understand what is real at this very moment.
So I understand when I see you now, I see you, I see Sarah. That's a visible object, but you say it's not a reality. Now I cannot hear you, Sarah.
It seems that I see you, it seems that you see me, but in truth, it's just a moment of seeing and then gone.
Just a moment of seeing.
Seeing and then gone, and then thinking about it, thinking that I see, thinking that you see, thinking that Nina is seen. But actually, at the moment of seeing, just seeing arises, sees what is visible and then gone instantly, and then so much thinking about who is seen, the color, the shape, the glasses, the appearance, and so much clinging to the idea that I experience, I see, I hear, I think. But in truth, just a moment of seeing what is seen and then gone. And then many other cheetahs in the idle process, and then thinking about the color, the shape, the form, the idea. So this is the fantasy world, the world conjured up by the conjurer, cheetah the conjurer, but actually no one there to be seen and no one here to see or to experience at all.
Yeah, that's the crutch. That's the thing. Yes.
The illusion that I can experience, I can see, I can control, I have bodily pain. But actually, where is the I? Because at the moment of seeing, is that I? What about the moment of hearing? What about the moment of thinking?
No, I can understand. I can understand that there is not I in theory, I think.
So the understanding has to get closer and closer to understanding what is the truth right now, that what is seen, no one there, and experiencing, no one here at all to experience,
It's
even
very
for a
clear.
moment.
It's very clear that I see color and form. and in a moment when I see you.
It
And then it's
sees
gone,
that
it's gone,
I
gone,
see
gone
it.
all the time, gone, 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 gone.
Gone. And it's just that strong idea that it's always I that sees or I that hear.
I said I again, there's seeing.
Just
Yeah.
seeing and then gone. Yes.
Yeah.
It's difficult to explain to people who did not hear the Dhamma that it is I all the time. They don't realize this sense of I can do. And it's hard, but it's helpful if Ajahn can explain more about this idea of the sense of I can do.
Do you see Kunsara?
Do you see Kunsara? It seems all the time we can see Kunsara.
That's why we have to understand what is the absolute truth which is there. Can it be taken for Kunsara? For example, it seems like you are seeing Kunsara, but what is Kunsara?
Oh, Kunsara.
What is Sara?
It's thinking about, we think about it all the time.
But without seeing, can you think that way?
Nee.
And what is there at moment of seeing? There must be sanya, an mental factor, which arises to perform the function of remembering. See, when we know about each reality, it let go the idea of self at level of intellectual understanding. But since it's so true and it's intellectual, that it means that there can be higher and further understanding of the truth. For example, as long as you still have the strong idea of Kunsara, at any moment you see Kunsara. But when you understand more about actually, there's no one and no thing, it's only the conditioned reality is by its proper conditions, just arising and falling away in split second. What is more true? What is the absolute truth? Since there can be the understanding of actually, there must be the absolute truth arising and falling away. Otherwise, how can there be idea of someone or something there as this person or that person? So we have to understand the truth more and more and more to condition moment of directly understanding what is there as it is. As long as it cling with ignorance, it cannot let go. The understand, it cannot let go ignorance, which take it for something, not only this life, many, many years ago. That's why we understand that without the intellectual understanding, which is the first stage of understanding the truth, there cannot be moment of realizing the truth. So there is more to go to develop right understanding, to let go the idea of self, because it's so strong accumulated. That's why from the very beginning, what is there now? Who condition it, who can make it arise? Impossible, but it's there already. That's why they cannot do anything, just develop the understanding of the truth of what is there. It's there, no one can make it arise, but it's there each day, each moment by conditions. And no hurry to realize the truth, but understanding honestly, sincerely, truthfully, what is there is that which is seen. So it can lead to more understanding of the truth little by little, unknowingly, in a day, no moment of thinking about it's only hardness. It's not anyone or anything at all. Even that is not thought about yet when the confidence of the truth is not strong enough. But when it develops by its own way, naturally, unknowingly, because now, at moment of understanding, just one moment can condition the other moment. But without any moment of understanding, how can it grow? How can it develop to understand, to discern the truth of what we are sure that it has to be only that. No one can make it arise. It's conditioned and it's gone unknowingly. The way is to have more confidence of the truth that actually each reality is conditioned to arise by its proper condition. And now it's conditioned to understand what is there from hearing and considering up to the degree as it is right now.
Thank you, Ajahn.
Robert,
Yeah, Jyotika, I was going to add something. I put a sorry, I've got a bit of a. I put in a extract from a that's relevant. Your question was something about who feels or who thinks, and a bhikkhu in the time of the Buddha asked the Buddha questions like this. The Buddha was running. He said. And the Buddha said, I do not say one makes contact. And who feels? I do not say one feels. And the Buddha explained that arises. So, but the bhikkhu, he really thought it. Someone who dies, and that's the normal way of the world. That's what people think. That's what people have believed, or that's what we've believed all our life. So, as Ajahn always stresses, it takes a Buddha to explain that there's really only this flux of conditions arising and ceasing. So, yeah, I just wanted to add that in for you, Jyotika, in case it was helpful. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, but I lost your words. I could not get them completely because sometimes you fell away. Do you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Jyotika. Sorry, was I not clear, everyone? Sorry.
Yeah, your voice was dropping out occasionally, Rob.
Might be my...
Are you willing
Look
to
at the
tell
chat.
it
I
one
put in an
time?
extract from a sutta. Yeah, I was just saying that a monk asked the Buddha, who feels?
Yeah, that's
who
what
dies? And the Buddha explained that way of the Paticca Samuppada. Yeah, and this monk.
And then you leave again.
Of bhikkhus.
Then you left
finally.
again. You left again.
Yeah, keep on dropping out, Rob.
Jyotika, Robert posted something, an extract from the sutta he's talking about in the chat, so you might like to have a look at it there. That might be easier for you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Rob, whereabouts is that from? Can you repeat that? Where did you get what sutta? Oh, I've heard it, but I can't remember where that was.
Sarah, who is speaking now?
Sundara.
Sundara. You are.
Rob, can you hear us? Rob? It's a very poor line, seems.
I think so.
It says Samyutta Nikaya Nidana Molya Pugana, page 541 in the chat.
Okay.
I'm back. If you can hear me now, I've changed my Wi-Fi connection. Is that clearer?
Yes.
That seems to be better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seems
Yes,
So,
it's in the Nidana Samyutta Sundara under nutriment.
it's very useful.
Waliya Paguna Sutta.
Yeah. He, after speaking with the Buddha and endeavoring for a while longer, he actually left the order because basically he could not accept that, there is no self. This totally confused him. But I think if we study that there's just conditions arising and ceasing, it does make a lot of sense. And it's, even if we don't quite experience it yet, it's certainly logical and it agrees with the way the world appears. So,
No, thanks for that, Rob. I appreciate it.
Yep. Yeah, and yeah, okay, well, good. Thank you. That's all for me.
Thank you very much, Sundara.
Not at all, Jyotika. It's often how we think the world is, but it's often very different to what it really is. And it takes a lot of, as you know, a lot of patience, Jyotika, to begin to understand that what really is happening, that takes time.
And it takes
Much
also
patience.
trust. It takes also trust to trust that it is possible to understand something.
Yeah, that's well said. Certainly, it takes confidence, and that confidence or saddha can be built up over time. So it is, yes, you're absolutely right. It does take trust. However, that can develop slowly, like everything. It's little by little. And
But it is all the Cetasikas who working together then. It is not an I in.
no,
The
it's
cheetahs
just, that's
and
right.
Cetasikas are there. There's only this showing, seeing the process going.
True, it's like that. It's not, it seems like there's a person there, but as you were saying, there's all those chittas and cetasikas there together.
Yeah.
And that can give us the impression that there is something, but we can gradually develop the confidence over time to realize that it's really just a process, as Rob said. It's just a flux of moments that gives us the idea of something or somebody there.
But we can hardly speak. If you speak we can, we is also not there.
True, but
Who
we
can
need,
we speak
that's
about
okay.
Yeah.
That's a very good point. However, we need to use conventional language, like the Buddha used we or me or all these different pronouns, and that can be misleading. But however, it's conventional usage of language, and that's just the way it is. And over time, we can begin to realize that just because, for example, Jyotika, if I didn't use those pronouns, it would sound rather strange. Or it could be done, but just because you don't use pronouns doesn't mean to say that you don't, that you have understanding, or that gives the impression that there is not a person there because you don't use pronouns. I know what you're saying. It's a good point, but it's just the way it is, that you need to use, like the Buddha, he needed to use pronouns, and over time we can develop confidence, even if you do use pronouns, that there are these just dhammas arising and falling away, with or without the use of pronouns. But it's a good point you've made.
And another, in the Satipatthana Sutta commentary, under doubt, it says the 6 things which help to throw out doubt are the state of being learned in the Buddha's teaching, and inquiry about the Dhamma and the Sangha and the Buddha, and stimulating talk that helps to dispel doubt. So this is what we're doing right now. We're having stimulating conversation, especially when Ajahn speaks. And that does help to build up more understanding and along with it, faith in the teachings. So after a while, this reluctance or doubts about the natta do start to fall away, I think.
Rob, whereabouts did that quote you've just given then, is that from the same sutta or is that from another sutta?
That's from the Satipatthana, Mahasatipatthana,
Oh, yeah, of course.
the commentary by Buddhaghosa.
Oh, okay, thank you. You did make that. Thank you.
Yeah, it's in the section on doubt. And
okay.
Yeah. And it goes on further. It says the knowledge of the suttas, both in letter and the spirit, and so on. And and conversation with the wise and so on. Yeah.
Okay, thanks for that, Rob.
May I just add that for beginners like me, it's not only I and we, it's all the words where nimittas are creeping in. Like if we say bodily feeling, that also speaks to me of body. Then every split second, this nimitta comes in of a whole. And this is what I'm beginning to see, that every time I don't understand anything, it's because I've got the conceptual meaning of it and forget that it's just, and we're gone and gone again. So yeah, it creeps in every word almost.
That's a very good point, that we think of the whole body and bodily feeling. We think of a whole body, and there is no whole body really, only different moments. That's a good point to remember.
You are still muted, Sarah.
Whatever is being discussed, it's always about chittas, chaitasikas, and rupas. Each one arises and falls away rapidly. So we may read about a reference to body or someone, but actually it's chittas and chaitasikas and rupas that are being referred to always. Nothing else at all.
And that's what's always forgotten.
Exactly.
Always forgotten.
And the function of sanya, remembrance, is so important. That helps, that makes us cling so much. And we forget the role of sanya, of remembrance. It's important to understand that.
Yeah, that's a good point, Nina. You know, that the remembering doesn't happen by us or we or me. It's a function of sanya, and that's a good reminder, Shanti, that we think that there are people and that we have to remember all these things, but it's the nature of Dhamma to be like this, and over time we can develop gradually more and more confidence of the nature of reality as it really is, not as how we think it is. And I do sympathize with you. I think at any stage when we hear all these different concepts, like as you mentioned, nimitta or whatever it is, khandhas and the like, we can slowly, it's like learning Dhamma is like learning another language, but it's also helping us to appreciate just the way Dhamma is, just the way the nature of things are. And it can seem so strange because that's the nature of ignorance. Ignorance, the way we understand it, the way we have normally understood life, as Rob was saying, is very different truly to what it is. So it just takes time to tease out all these different concepts and slowly start to put this enormous jigsaw, if you like, together and begin to develop a better overview, a better understanding of the nature of things. And as we know, the Buddha did say that Dhamma is difficult. It's just the nature of it. It must be so, because if it was easy, then we would understand quite quickly, and we know we don't. And it's with great patience, that we must persist if we are to develop a better understanding of it. And we're fortunate to have a forum like this here, so we can gradually put the pieces together. And we can be grateful to Tanajan and Sarah and Jonathan coming together to enable us to do that. That's a good thing. And then again, we can also we must just continually be patient and consider it, and consider the Dhamma carefully, as Tanajan is always saying that. She's used that analogy, and I always appreciate the analogy of the adze handle. Trying to think of the Pali word, but it's not so important. It just takes time. It takes a long time, because our ignorance is so vast. It was always interjecting, if you like, from moment to moment, and we are, along with other Dhammas, and we are misunderstanding things as they are. As you might have heard of that word, dvipalasas. We remember wrongly, we view things wrongly. With ignorance also, there is ignorance of the nature of things all the time. So and these different Pali words, even though they might seem to be difficult and they are not easy to understand, we can begin to approach them. We can begin to appreciate them, because they are there in many ways to help us in the beginning, especially. Perhaps when I say in the beginning, at different stages, we'll begin to appreciate what the meaning of these words are, because the concepts of Dhamma are very obscure in the English language or in any other language in many ways, but they're not unavailable to us. But when we hear these words, they're there for good reason. They help us to understand the teachings better, I believe, over time, and they can give us, as you said, Jyotika, more courage and more better understanding and more confidence. But it does take time. I sympathize with you on that point.
But Sundara, I appreciate very, very much what you are saying, but still I am hanging with when you say we have to persist. Who is persisting then?
Dhamma persists. There can be persistence without a person. It's like when we say that with understanding. We've talked about this a little bit in the past when we say there is understanding, but no one who understands. The concept still sounds, I know, in modern day language rather strange, but that's just the way it is. There is understanding, but no one who understands. There is confidence, but no one who has confidence. So it is a little bit, does seem a little bit strange, but we can slowly put that concept together and think, okay, that may be right. We don't ever have to accept that totally, but in the beginning, it's helpful to think, well, that may be so, and lets me listen up on that one, and consider carefully, and over time we can begin to see that may be so. If that fits in very much with the nature of anatta, that we have to use these pronouns, but they don't really ultimately exist.
When we say it's the function of remembrance, actually, then we have to go back to the beginning of explaining that chittas and cetasikas and rupas and different moments. And then, as Ajahn says, it depends on the interest of the listener. And that is really difficult because they don't have enough interest to go to the basic understanding, to the basic principles, to understand that and listen to the explanations about that.
Well, it is all about if you can do something or nothing, and who has the interest. You call it interest, Nina.
Yes.
And persistence, and that is all that I am struggling with, this no self. Then is it completely no self? Then I don't know. There's two worlds that the whole Chitta, Chittasikas, Rupas who are working together, but somewhere it's coming in this Rupa or in this, yeah.
Jyotika, remember there are Jetasikas, and these Jetasikas are mental states.
Yeah,
So they're the mental states such as a determination to do something or things like that. They're all Jetasikas. They exist, but they're not a self. They're not a being doing it. They
Yeah.
arise with the Chitta. So when we say, and here's again the pronoun we, when we say there must be patience, patience is a Jetasika.
Yeah.
All those things are Jetasikas, okay, that arise with the Chitta and they fall away with the Chitta.
but there's nothing, everything is by conditions, and we
Yes.
can do, and if we could, if there is no one who can do anything, so it's just waiting or whatever is, and it is not true because we do something and we are able to study, or is that also the Chitta
Okay.
Tishaks who are
This
who
is
are studying?
this is a very good question because we think that there's a we doing something. Again, there's a we. Or I turn on my machine here just to participate in the Zoom discussion, say.
Yeah.
But what actually are the realities behind that? What is the reality of the machine? What is the reality of the movement of an arm, of a conceptual arm to turn on your machine and do all these other different things? What really are all those steps involved? Okay. Again, it is not a being doing it.
And when we talk, Jyotika, about interest, for example, it's right now. So right now, what is their interest in? Is their interest in understanding what is true now? Or is there interest in thinking about one's next meal or about the appearance of different people? So there are different interests at different moments. As you say, each interest is conditioned. Who knows whether the next interest is going to be kusala interest in understanding, or whether it's going to be interest with attachment, thinking of something quite different. Each one is conditioned, but it's the occasional moments of wholesome interest with understanding that conditions more understanding, which conditions more reflection about what is true and what is real. So no one can make wholesome interest or interest with understanding arise. No one can say, okay, for the next half hour of discussion, I will just have interest in studying Dhamma. It's impossible because it just arises for a moment when there are conditions and falls away. When there's interest with attachment in looking out of the window, it's conditioned too. So it's not my interest, it's just the reality that arises by conditions. But we can see that it's the interest in understanding, in considering what is true at this moment, that conditions more and more interest with understanding. Each moment, each reality by conditions. Carry on, Chanti.
Just because coming from this not knowing beginner's mind, what helps me is continually again and again with each word and listening, coming back to, am I gluing things together? Am I making it, giving it a personality, like studying? Then this means I'm in a concept. I'm going the wrong way. So if I'm caught again, like I am studying, or I am persisting, or we are, or someone is, or Namarupa, then still it's making it too big or giving it too much personality. And I found it, again, a very nice quote from Ajahn Sujin. One citta arises just to experience, but experience, we shouldn't give it a personality either, nor a body.
I think there's
It just
nothing wrong.
arises not to like or dislike, and gone again. And that's
I
for
don't think there's
studying and
anything
persisting.
necessarily wrong with thinking I or me or you or we. What is the wrong view that the Buddha spoke about was the fact of the existence of an abiding self. So in conventional language, and the Buddha used conventional terms, one speaks of people and things using the normal pronouns and so forth. But it's the understanding that lies behind that is important. So if we are concerned about how often one thinks of I or me or you or table or chair as an object, that is not the development of the understanding spoken of by the Buddha. It is when the understanding of Dhammas is developed that the ultimate realities come to be understood, and the manner of communication and thinking doesn't necessarily change, still using I or we, but the underlying views are different. So
I think
the focus should be on developing understanding of what is appearing at the present moment, rather than how much of my thinking is in terms of I and me and giving personality and so forth. Because that can't be changed. But with the development of understanding, it does change.
I think, Jonathan, from what I was hearing Shanti say, that that's what she was speaking to. She had some concept of that dilemma, and she then was about to quote from what Ajahn said. Perhaps, Shanti, would you continue? You were saying that what you found helpful in view of what you have been saying and what Jonathan has just been alluding to. What was that thing that what was that sharing that Tanajan gave to you and you found helpful?
One citta arises just to experience, not to like or dislike.
Right. So through that, you can begin to understand that. How did you understand that? Can you perhaps tell us a little bit about that? How did you understand that?
Well, normally I would go to citta arises just to experience and make this experience again very big.
Uh-huh.
And that's what I was trying to explain to Jyotika. This is where we go wrong all the time. If you say we should persist, this is the same.
So you seem to be saying there that it's the moment.
I'm forgetting that it's again, even this persist is just arising to experience, persist and gone, and not. We're forgetting, or I'm forgetting all the time, that it's separate and not gluing it together to a story of citta is going somewhere and growing or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So you're saying there that when there is a better understanding that there is just moment by moment experiences, then there will be less attachment or less there will always be ignorance. It's there to a lesser or greater degree right up until deeper levels of understanding. So what you seem to be saying there, Shanti, is that those moment by moment experiences which are understood in the beginning intellectually can lead on to a better understanding of the Dhamma and the true nature of things as Dhammas appears moment by moment as they truly are. And you seem to be saying, and those other moments where we create or concoct a story, mostly incorrectly, but you seem to be saying through your understanding that these moments of correct understanding will help lessen those moments of less understanding. Is that something like it?
Yes, very much.
I think the point of the quote that you mentioned, Chanti, is that Chitta just experiences the object. Seeing just sees what is visible. It doesn't like what is visible. It doesn't dislike it. It just sees it. The liking or disliking are the functions of different Chaitasikas that arise and experience that same object. So Lobha likes, Dosa dislikes, but seeing itself, the Chitta just experiences the object clearly just as it is. The moment of hearing, it just hears sound. It has no aversion to the sound. It doesn't like the sound. It doesn't understand the sound. It just hears the sound. So I think that was the point of that quote, just to show the difference between the function of the Chitta and the function of different Chaitasikas that arise. It's all about life now. Hi, Maeve, carry on.
Hello, Sarah. How are you? Is Ajahn there? Are you there, Ajahn?
Ajahn, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
We can hear you now.
Yes, thank you. Hello, Ajahn.
Yes.
How are you?
Fine, thank you. And you?
Good. Yes, thank you. Ajahn, I wanted to ask a question about sampajana, and I thought maybe it might have a bearing on what is being discussed. And the question is around really asking you to clarify what in the sutta where it describes how the Buddha encouraged the bhikkhus to be clearly conscious when he is going and coming, clearly conscious in looking forward and backward, clearly conscious in bending and stretching his body, etc., etc. It just goes on to a whole range of bodily functions and actions. And it's related to clear comprehension. So I wonder if you could just clarify what that means in terms of anatta, because it seems as if the focus is very much on what the body is doing, what is being looked at, etc., which very much can suggest an idea of the self, and I know can lead also to people thinking that they've got to be, that if they walk really slowly, then they will be more aware of what is going on, etc., etc. So there can be a lot of misunderstanding around what the Buddha was saying, and I wonder if you might just clarify that for us, please, or for me, anyway.
Sampajanya is another word of panya, right understanding, many degrees from the very beginning to the moment of sati and sampajanya arising together to understand the object right then or right now as it is. Because we talk about the reality which experiences an object, and the object is that which has shape and form and so on. But what about sati? At that very moment of hearing and understanding the meaning of the word. But is it the moment of understanding the nature of that which one is talking about? For example, now we talk about the seeing and that which is seen. What level of understanding is there? And what about sati and sampajanya together? At moment of understanding, what we are hearing about citta and cittasika is not the moment when sati and sampajanya is conditioned to understand what is there as it is. That's why sampajanya is another word for right understanding of panya, not at level of intellectual understanding. Because now there is intellectual understanding and there is seeing. It's the understanding about seeing, the moment when it understands directly of that which experiences an object.
Yes,
That's why another word for sati sampajanya is the satipatthana, or the development of understanding the truth of the reality when it appears. Right now, right understanding can be known whether how strong right understanding is to understand seeing as there's no one and no thing. It just that which sees, it arises and falls away. See, that's why whatever is true in daily life can be known stage by stage. Intellectual understanding as actually at moment of hardness is now appearing. Is there any thought about that which experiences hardness? And when we talk about the reality which arises to perform the function of experience, the nature or the characteristic of that object only, it means that it cannot like, it cannot dislike at all, because it is the reality which is conditioned just to experience the characteristic of the object clearly. And this is intellectual understanding. But when we use the term sati and sampajanya, it's not sati, which just think about any wholesome deeds or action, but it is with understanding of the truth of what is there, no matter where one sit or walk or drink or each moment right now, anytime, by conditions. So when we heard the word sati sampajanya, it means that moment of understanding directly, sati, with right understanding. So it is not level of intellectual understanding, but it's moment of directly understand what is there as it is. Because you see that the reality which arises to experience, even is from birth to death, no one understands its nature as no self and no thing. But in truth, when this kind of citta hasn't arisen yet, it cannot be known that it is the reality which, no matter what the object is, it is that only reality which directly experience the object, but not with understanding. So when it is with understanding, it is sati, not just citta, another reality, not forget about the truth. So there are conditions for sati to be aware by conditions unexpectedly. Anatta condition that moment, and the understanding of anatta develops because it is unexpectedly. But there must be right understanding, little by little developing. That's why Buddha taught the bhikkhu to be aware of sati sampajanya at any time, eating, walking, learning, speaking, and so on, even right now. That's why we understand another level of sati and another level of panya And when they arise together, sati cannot perform the function of panya, and panya cannot perform the function of citta. Each has its own characteristic, its own nature. But when they arise together, and it's not the object of understanding, only one object, one reality can be object of understanding, no matter what. That's why at moment of sati sampajanya, panya or sampajanya has no doubt about that level of understanding, which is aware of only one object with understanding of its nature as nothing, but only that characteristic is there. And there can be more understanding that what hasn't been, what is not there, cannot be known because it's completely gone. But sanya marks and remembers as it's still there, which is wrong. Sanya vipalasa. That's why before there can be more confidence of what is there just in that very moment, which is very, very short. How many moments in a moment which we used to talk, this moment. But there are many, many very short moments of one moment that we use in life. Moment of seeing is so very short. Moment of thinking, everything arises and falls away in split seconds. That's why without hearing more, consider more, and have more confidence, they cannot be let go of the object which is now appearing as something until there is more understanding of each different ones. And by then, it can let go the other reality which follows so closely, very rapidly. When there is ignorance, it takes that as something all the time, as I, because there are realities which arise but cannot experience an object, and the reality which arises and experience object. At that very moment of experiencing an object, no one there. So it is I, it must be I, because of not understanding the nature of the reality which is conditioned to arise and experience and then gone instantly, because there are conditions for its arising. After it has arisen, it falls away instantly. But sanya marks and remember wrongly because it clings with ignorance to that object as it's still there, because it has been experienced. So the sati sampajanya is not intellectual sati and panya, but it is moment when it is conditioned to arise, to be aware with understanding of the unexpected reality never known before. So one can understand whether this moment is sati sampajanya or not sati sampajanya. Because when it is sati sampajanya, it has to be sati, which is aware of what is there right now. And sampajanya, right understanding, begins to develop to understand the truth. Hardness, it's no thing. Even right now, it's no thing. But the understanding is not enough to let go the idea of something. That's why right understanding is so very truthful. It understands the truth, how much understanding is there. And whether it is right understanding, direct understanding, or only thinking about it. That's why even Vipassana Jnana, first stage, has been directly experienced, but it's not enough because it's so short. What about the accumulation from life to life, years and years, to think about that? Because we talk about sanya, but we do not think about sanya at all in a day. It's there, marks and remembers, arising with the citta, but no one think about it. It's there. Even right now, it remembers, it marks the object because its function. It's not citta and it's not panya. It has its own characteristic. And right understanding, which has sanya as object with understanding of no one, that is sati and sampajanya. So when sati and sampajanya is there, no doubt about what is sati and what is sampajanya. But before that, when it's not the object of understanding, how can there be the understanding of no one and nothing there? That's right. Right understanding has to develop on and on and on with other wholesome cetasikas, unknowingly right now, until time comes, the moment of sati sampajanya of a particular object right then by conditions. The understanding of conditions and the anothernness gets or becomes clear a little by little.
So, Ajahn, when the Buddha advised the bhikkhus to be conscious of everything that they were doing, was that like to encourage them at the level of paying attention at
To
an
be
intellectual
reminded
level,
that what can be known is only that which appears. Whether it arises or not, it does not belong to anyone's control. No one there to understand the nature of anothernness. But it's there to be known or not known yet, or to think about it sometime or none at all. Right understanding is so very truthful to what is there naturally in daily life, and understand that what is there is conditioned, the accumulation of what is there as kusala or akusala, or even the object.
So according to the levels of understanding amongst the bhikkhu, they would hear the Buddha's words, and some would understand it at the level that we were discussing before about thinking in terms of something like an arm or a leg or what is eaten or that kind of thing, but they would be thinking in terms of paying attention to what they were doing. But others would be thinking about, would have a different understanding of what the Buddha's words meant.
That's why all depends on conditions. Some might have sati sampajanya and some might gain the knowledge of vipassana jhana, or one might become enlightened, depending on the accumulation of each different ones.
But I think the difference in understanding, Maeve, is also a difference as to whether, when you say the Buddha encouraged the bhikkhus to have clear comprehension, in fact, he was really describing the bhikkhu who has developed clear comprehension, rather than saying, well, you should have clear comprehension all the time. He's saying that the bhikkhu who has clear comprehension is developing the path. So those who understand it at the level that we discuss here will take it to mean that if understanding arises, then it's a path movement. But understanding is conditioned like all other realities. They would not take it to be an urging to pay attention to this or to that, or to focus or to practice or to have more awareness and understanding. So it's not an admonition so much as just laying down what is the development of the path that he spoke of.
I suppose it's another example of maybe the difference between description and instruction. And often, I think it is easy to take the Buddha's words as instructions, as for doing, and then all is connected with, you know, the one that does and what is done and all of that. But you're saying that it's largely, it's actually descriptive in this sense.
Well, first of all, it's all in the third person. If you're talking about the Satipatthana Sutta, so it's a bhikkhu does this, a bhikkhu does that, and going forward, he is a person practicing, use the word practicing in English translation, he is a person practicing clear comprehension. In doing this, he has clear comprehension. In doing that, he has clear comprehension. So if you really want to analyze it, it is a descriptive in that sense, rather than an instruction, which is directed towards you should, in terms of you should do this or you shouldn't do that. He didn't tend to speak in those terms throughout his teaching. There are exceptions, of course, but generally speaking, he is describing the way things are when explaining about the five khandhas, for example, and the understanding of the five khandhas. So the objects of awareness and understanding, he is saying this is how it is, what is cause, what is effect, and so on and so forth, rather than telling people what they should be doing.
Yes, but at the same time, as Ajahn often says, the subtlety of that is that there is an embedded instruction in it, isn't there? Not at the level of what one should do, but as you started off saying, Jonathan, the path. It's like the instruction is around what it means to follow the path.
Well, I suppose it depends how one takes it, and this is what Ajahn is constantly explaining, that because dhammas are conditioned, and that was one of the things he explained at length, they are anicca, they are dukkha, they are anatta. That is to be, it's how that is understood that will determine how the Buddha's words are taken, whether they are taken in this way or that way.
Yeah.
So when we first
like
hear
now,
when we first read
just
this,
talk about.
Sorry, Ajahn, please go ahead.
Yes. Can it be just like now? We talk about present moment, this moment, see, just talk about it. Not to forget that the truth is here and now, but not be aware instantly, impossible. But to understand that the truth can be known only when it's there. And now it's there. So it can be known what is there. But if there's not enough understanding, ignorance is there, not understanding it. That's why listen to the truth and consider and have more confidence of the truth. Otherwise, one thing that one can do, and it's not anything to do with the words of the Buddha, better to try this and that, to sit and on and on. And that is not subtle at all. The subtlety is that which now arises and performs its function, sanya and vitaka and cetasikas arise and perform their function, because only panya cannot arise alone. There must be conditions for it to arise too. As now there are many realities, it depends on condition, to condition moment of beginning, to be aware instantly by condition of a reality. So we talk about this moment because it can be directly known as so true that no one can make it arise. It has arisen already, and it cannot be taken for anything, because in truth, it arises and falls away. In split second, we just keep on talking about the truth to condition more confidence of the truth, that it can be directly realized as no one and no thing. But
Please excuse. Oh,
yes, please.
oh yes, Tana-chan, thank you. I have a question, please. Enlightenment is referred to as the unconditioned reality, and realities are conditioned to arise. It seems like a bit of a contradiction. I mean, to be taken literally with zero understanding means that no realities are arising because there aren't conditions. Will you please? Oh dear. Oh dear, it's after 4. Oh, please excuse me, John. Will there be discussion next week?
But you see that just few words to the to think about. Can kilesa be eradicated? This is a point. You can keep it until next time, but can kilesa be eradicated? And when there's no kilesa, no clinging, can it condition the moment of arising of whatever is there? Without conditions, without ignorance, without attachment, can there be anything conditioned to arise?
No.
So the question is whether wrong understanding and the other kilesa be eradicated. If there's no understanding of the conditions, no way at all. But when there's more and more understanding of the cause, the condition for what is there, stage by stage, there can be moment of the eradication of conditions, no more to condition anything to arise at all. Is it possible? As it's conditioned by ignorance, so can it be without ignorance? And what is there instead of ignorance?
Without ignorance is understanding.
Is understanding, understand what is there now?
Yes, understanding Panya knows.
Directly, the arising
Directly.
and falling away, no one, nothing at all. Only an object as object of understanding. Otherwise, it cannot be clear comprehension of vipassana.
So pure and autonomous.
Let's continue next week, Eve. So please bring it up again at the beginning next time. Thank you
Yes,
very
I
much,
shall.
Ajahn.
Sawadika.
Swadika.
Thank you for gift of
Thank you very
Dhamma,
much,
Ajahn.
Ajahn.
In a
Thank
very
you,
happy
everyone.
and wise and peaceful